everyone and welcome back to the Colour Cave, where we like to play with art stuff. My name is Jem and it's been a little while since we've had voiceover Jem. I've had a lot of workmen and stuff banging about in the house and it's just not been conducive to filming. So this is like the unboxing video. This is a double up of the Upcrate and the Scrawler Box challenges, and I decided to do a full spread in my sketchbook and really take my time with this and enjoy it, because it's something I don't often get to do. I feel as if I hurry a lot in my videos now, and it's really just to get the content out, so I proper took my time with this. So you can see I've been drawing some shapes down the side here, and they look unsurprisingly like animals. My initial idea was to combine the two prompts, which was stacking plan and paws and claws, and what came to mind was a totem pole. You know, thinking we could have the claws and the paws stacked up together. This was me trying out wonky beaks. I kind of like this for some reason, it tickled me. Yeah, so my plan was to merge the challenges. I think I've called it the ScrollCrate in the title of this video. But in doing this, we had some quite interesting supplies in the form of the new Frisk markers, but also the hemp paper as well. So I really wanted to try the boxes within their own parameters, just to see how, you know, stuff was going to pan out basically. So you can see here, like, I'm trying to make this page of my sketchbook pretty. For longer standing cavers, you will know that there are no pretty pages in any of my sketchbooks, so I'm trying real hard here. So I thought, oh yeah, let's swatch the colours out, make it look pretty. So I have split it into Upgrate and Scrawler. You can see I've got little separate columns there, but I tested out a few different things that I'd found that I liked from reference images of totem poles. I know nothing about totem poles. One that really did tickle me was the there's a brother bear totem pole somewhere apparently, as in the Disney film, and I was like, I totally have to have a bear. So with the Upcrate one, because it was the stacking prompt, I didn't want it to be specifically paws and claws, so I have a human face, I have a cloven hooved animal, as well as really channeling my angry bird there, and I don't know what that is on top, it's some kind of rodent. And on the scrawler side here, you can see I'm sticking a bit more closely to the prompt, and I did have to get those like the brother bear vibes in somewhere. So he was going on first. I had no clue what this animal was when I was drawing it, truthfully. All I know is it would have paws. I think I turned this into like some sort of rabbit or something afterwards. But this whole process was really, really good fun. And I already knew from this point, because I'd put quite a lot of effort in. Normally my rough sketches are just that, they're really rough. Like, this is really detailed for me. I don't normally spend this much time in my sketchbook, although I have to say, you know, I enjoyed myself quite substantially here. But my plan was to basically use a light pad and trace these images onto the respective pieces of paper for each challenge. I didn't see the point in trying to duplicate them twice, considering that, you know, obviously I'd put in quite a lot of work. I was having a wee ponder to myself there, I think. So that was kind of my thinking with this. This particular head that I'm drawing was supposed to be a dog, and I gave him massive ears, but that also doubles up as the wings of the eagle that's on the very top. See, clever Gem. So here we are, I'm going in with the fine liner. So this is the fine liner from the Scrawler box, and I've used it on both totems here. And the reason that I'm doing this in fine liner is it will show through on the light box a lot better in thick black ink. And I've used the Unipin just because it was the first one to hand, but also I know that it behaves really well in this paper in my sketchbook. So you can see I'm getting on there, the details there. So I just thought I would get on with this, and I thought it would save me a wee bit of time as well, rather than trying to duplicate the same image, you know, because obviously this is going to be two separate images, so essentially I would have 3 separate artworks if you include the sketchbook as one. And honestly guys, like, this video is so late as it is, I knew that wasn't really the best idea. So this is very out of character for me, but it was totally worth it. So here we are, here's a photocopy of my sketchbook, and obviously my wee light pad. It's a Huion light pad that I have. They're fairly reasonably priced. I did buy mine a good number of years ago in a Black Friday sale, and I think I got it for about £15. The last time I looked, they were retailing about 23. But if it's something that you're interested in, I'll try and find a link and I'll pop it down in the description underneath the video. So here we are at basically just tracing, and again I'm using the relevant pencil. In one of the boxes, which was the Scrawler box, we did get a pencil, so I'm using the correct pencil, not just any old pencil. I know it's a pencil, but that is the Derwent sketching pencil, and making sure I'm getting them little paws in. And here's the and here's the Upcrate one with the hemp paper, and just getting that down as well. So you can see that's a really easy fluid process because I've gone over it with the fine liner in my sketchbook. That's posed no problems, and then we can get on to the fun bit. I have to say I wasn't overly enthusiastic about the fact that we were all in acrylic paint. When I was actually sketching these totems in my sketchbook, all I wanted to do was do them in coloured pencil because I wanted the detail and I wanted to put the wood grain in, you know, like tiny little pencil strokes at a time, and I really wanted to make it look like a carving. I don't have the patience, and I'm quite strict with the challenges in that I try and only use the things in the box. And this paintbrush was absolutely wonderful for all these angular parts of the totem, but it didn't lend itself to putting in things like a very fine wood grain, because you would need a weeny brush for that on the size of the artwork that I'm doing here. So it was in this starting moment here, you can see I'm concentrating real hard, I'm leaning over it and everything. It was in this moment here that I decided I would stick to a more sort of cartoonish feel. With the colour palette we got in the Upcrate, which is the one we're doing just now, the Liquitex paints, I felt that it was a little bit more of a muted palette. I tried really hard to get a black here, so this is me like squishing all the colours together. I did manage like a really muddy grey, but that was about as good as it got. But I had the black fine liner, so it wasn't like a deal breaker. But yeah, I felt that this was a bit more of a serious image, and that my totem was going to be quite angry because it is quite a muted palette. It's actually a lovely palette. I really enjoyed the lilac colour, and the pinky colour mixed well with the red to create different flesh tones as well. Obviously I used a flesh tone on the bottom of the totem because I was a human. And I quite enjoyed that process. The paint itself, I feel as if I didn't really get the chance to use it properly. I would have preferred to test it out on a much bigger sheet of paper. And I very rarely, if I'm painting in acrylic, I very rarely sketch anything out. I feel it very constrictive, is that the word? I like to just kind of like see where my brush is going to take me. The paintbrush itself was fabulous. I really like this paintbrush because it's quite a rigid synthetic brush, and I love that in a flat brush because you can get some really good angles with it. And even if you have issues with pressure like I do, it's strong enough that it will still give you that nice sort of angle and edge and not kind of go and splay out everywhere. So I really like this paintbrush. I don't think the hemp paper was particularly suited. It wasn't unsuited to the paint either, that's the thing. I thought it was a bit of an odd choice. A couple of people have been on at me and tell me to try the hemp paper with coloured pencil, so that is something that I'm going to do. But I'm really neutral on the paint paper combo for this box. I mean, it was fine. That's the way I would describe it. It was fine. It wasn't particularly, you know, groundbreaking, earth-shattering, or even particularly inspiring, but the paint went down fine on the paper. The paper took it like a champ because the paper's like cardboard. It's so thick. So you can use, you know, even quite heavy coats of acrylic on here, and it's not really gonna, you know, the paper's not gonna complain about it, put it that way. Squidging out some blue here. I don't know what I'm squidging out the blue for. I think this was just to do these stripes. One technique you'll see that I have employed throughout this, in fact throughout both of the artworks, is I'll paint a little chunk of it and, you know, get so far down or so far up if I've started at the bottom, and then I just abandon the paint altogether. And I just go in with the fine liner and start working away with the fine liner. This was purely an exercise in saving time, and although you can't see it, the way I've edited the footage together, like the way I've knitted this together, I was running these two images simultaneously. So by painting like this for a little bit and then stopping and using the fine liner, I could rotate between the two images and what was wet paint and what was dry paint, and it means I could keep moving all the time and keep working, and while I was working on one bit there would be something else drying kind of thing, and it wasn't stopping me in my tracks because I had a very tight window for like actually physically executing this part of the exercise, shall we say. Very tight window indeed, so unfortunately it's been very busy. But yeah, out of all of the Liquitex paints, this is the one that I like the best. I just like the colour. I like an indigo colour. and I could see myself using this grey colour if I were a person that painted in acrylic. It might be a colour that I use fairly often, so I was going to stick these acrylic paints in the stash shop. I've decided against it. They don't shift well. You guys have got as much acrylic paint as I do. It's not a, you know, again, it's just the basics range as well. It's not a particularly prestigious or unique art supply, and this goes back to what we've been talking about in our live streams as well. It's all very fair and well getting these things in boxes, but there's no novelty to it, really. Oh, here I go with the fine liner. There's no novelty to it. We've seen this kind of thing time and time again, and there is nothing special about these paints whatsoever. So that just kind of like, that coincides and really backs up what we've been saying for a while about the boxes, you know, being a little bit unimaginative, or, you know, just not really getting our creative juices flowing the way that they used to. This Winsor & Newton marker, they're a bit odd, these markers. They've got a really long ferrule, you know, the metal part that comes down over the nib. I just find them really odd. Again, there's nothing wrong with them. They're smooth enough and they're good quality. I just find them to be slightly strange is all. So yeah, the ink was dark enough as well. I did go over my sort of dark grey paint that I had there for those eyes. And the pen went over it perfectly, and you can see there it's done a good job for detail and hatching and stuff as well, so it's not a bad pen at all. Again, it's much more of the same, like very just middle of the road, very reliable. Dare I say it's slightly boring? Is that unfair to say? It might be, I don't know. You guys can tell me what you think in the comments. The further I went down this particular one, the totem just felt as if it was a really angry totem. I don't think everyone on this totem pole's a bit pissed off or in a really bad mood, one of the two. Yeah, I still don't know what the animal is on the top. Maybe it's some kind of wolf or coyote or something. Really enjoyed the jaggy bits here with this brush. Look at those angles. Oh, so good. Brush was excellent for that. Picked up a lot of paint as well. I seem to be able to go for a good bit without, you know, having to dip my brush back in the palette, so to speak. So yeah, I think overall the Upcrate, I don't know. I'm starting to wonder whether I'm just getting a bit of subscription box fatigue. But I can't say for certain if that's the case, because I still seem to be quite excited about the other subscription boxes. It's just Upcrate that I feel a little bit kind of, I don't know, disillusioned. I'm really excited about the hemp paper though for colour pencil, so I'll maybe try that out in a live stream or something. That should make for interesting viewing. The fun part about doing these totems was deciding where and how to add in the extra detail. You know, so I decided to put these lines in on the deer's nose just for interest, and I think it's an effect and an aesthetic that's actually turned out like really well, especially on this one where it had a much more limited palette, and as I say, it's just a little bit more muted, so it was really good to be able to put the fine liner to good use and make it work a little bit. If it wasn't for the fine liner, I don't think this totem pole would be particularly interesting to look at. I think it would look very flat. I mean, it does look very flat. That's kind of the point of it. You know, it's just that kind of art style that I've gone for. I almost feel as if I've overlapped a little bit into like Egyptian, you know, like ancient Egyptian paintings or something. I don't know, it's a bit strange. Yeah, so here was the mix of the pink and the red colour that I was talking about, and obviously you can darken it down with more red. If you look in the very top left hand corner of that last frame, it had a much darker variation, which is what's on the deer's nose area. So yeah, those two colours in particular I felt were very versatile and would be great for some portraiture. This little dude. This was just a series of elements that I lifted from various reference images of totems. This wasn't a particular totem head. I didn't copy anything, but I just, by the time I got to the bottom I realised it was an angry totem. I felt that the angry teeth, cartoon mouth thing was appropriate. Looking at this little guy now as well, I don't think he would be that out of place in an early, like, Mickey Mouse cartoon, like Steamboat Willie or something. Oh, it's all good clean fun, isn't it? Getting that last little bit round there without messing it up. I know at that point I was thinking to myself, if I can just get it with the fine liner, it'll be fine. Tidy it up with the fine liner. I thought the 0.8 was going to be a bit chunky as well, but it was actually fairly good. You know, I thought it was going to be clumsy, but you can see I've managed to get some fairly fine lines. When it comes to fine liners, I do tend to use very, very thin fine liners, so I basically felt as if I was using a magic marker here compared to what I would normally use. But I managed just fine. I even managed some nostrils. Look at that. You can't say much fairer than that. You just get the angry teeth and everything in. There we go. And then on to the scroller box one. I enjoyed this as a process much, much, much more than the Upcrate one. The first reason is the paper is smooth, and obviously it's acrylic markers. Those two things go very, very well together. It was much, much easier, you know, it was way less of an effort because I wasn't messing about with mixing paint and using that one paintbrush. I couldn't have used a flat brush to do this because this is a much softer, more fun image, although obviously it's still in my sort of playful art style. There is a huge difference. There are far less angles. There are a lot more like softer curves in this one, and that was done deliberately because I knew I had the use of these pens which have a round nib, so it made sense to not have any like really harsh angles because I would just be making a rod for my own back. The colours were so fun. These pens are lovely. These pens will they will be going up in the stash shop. They will be up this coming Sunday, so members only live stream days when they're going to be up. So if you want to grab them, go ahead. They're really, really nice. I like them. The paint that comes out is really rich. I had no problems with them at all, and they were actually a joy to use, and it was lovely to have such a big colour selection. Normally I'm not really a fan of that rounded nib, but it was absolutely great for this. And the Unipin fine liners, I use them all the time. Sell them in the stash shop. A 0.9 is not a nib width that I stock, so this was actually quite nice as well. And it's an absolute dream. Yeah, worked really well. The fun thing about doing this one was, you'll just see it in a couple of frames time, is I started adding in like little patterns, like dot patterns, just with the pens. You can see there on the bear. We've done quite well with him, and actually he might be my favourite part of this totem, but he's looking kind of funky. I give him some eyebrows as well. Yeah, there we go. So you can see the one above, I've made it into some sort of rodent as well. It does have teeth. I don't think it quite looks like a rabbit. It's just like an unidentified paw animal. And then say we're back into Angry Bird territory with the one above. Oh lordy. This was by far my favourite one. The dog with the wing ears. Unspecified dog. But the fact that he has wings for ears just makes me really happy. And the green, oh my goodness, like it pops out so well. And that's one thing, these pens layer up so well on top of each other. Honestly, would highly recommend, and I think Frisk have done an amazing job, because you know me, I mean I've tried every paint marker going and I use them all the time, and I was still excited about these, and this is the difference as to what I was saying about the Upcrate. Like, this is a new product, but it's not someone reinventing the wheel. This was just a genuinely nice product to use, and I had such good fun. So, you know, two images that are technically the same, but they're actually quite different as well. And I was surprised that they did turn out as differently as they did, because obviously, as I said, I did them side by side, like I was running them simultaneously. And you can definitely tell that I've drawn both of them, but they are indeed very, very different. So there we go, there is the finished articles side by side for your pleasure. I hope you've enjoyed this video, guys, and I will see you in the next one on Thursday.